this is a person who takes food very seriously. How many of you have ever had the thought that school lunch sucks? Anyone? This lady is going to tell you about a company, her company, and really is working to make a difference in that for you and for everybody and for children across America, and perhaps larger than that. Please join me in welcoming Kirsten Saenz Tobey. Your students.
Good morning, everyone. I think appropriately I am the last thing sitting between you all and lunch, so I'll try to make this succinct and hopefully interesting. I'm the founder of Revolution Foods, which is a company that we started about 8 years ago. I met my business partner in graduate school, and when we started graduate school, we were really inspired by a few things, and I'll tell you a little bit about what those things were, and hopefully that will inspire you a little bit to take on a challenge. So in the current projections indicate that obesity and related diseases will cost the US healthcare system more than $1 trillion over the next 5 years. 1 in 3 children born after the year 2000, which may include many of your brothers, sisters, my children, are predicted to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which is a preventable disease. And for the first time ever in American history, the current generation of youth, this is your generation, is predicted to live a shorter lifespan than their parents have lived. Now, I'm telling you all of this not to scare you and to make you feel depressed. I'm telling you this hopefully to inspire you to do something about it, because all of these trends are reversible and completely preventable. So what's happening that's driving these trends and that's driving the US on this kind of this road towards a really poor health situation? Many of these things are things that are driven by people's individual choices. So we could say everybody just needs to make better choices. Other things that are driven by the larger system. The larger system that is, the food industry and all kinds of different policies that are driving the food industry towards helping people to make the wrong decisions for their health and helping cities to not set up their communities for success when it comes to setting up communities that promote healthy behaviors and healthy eating. When you take a look at sort of where portion sizes have gone over the last 20, 30, 40 years from, reasonable sized portions of all kinds of things being served in restaurants and sold in packaged goods in grocery stores, growing to now everything being so supersized and oversized that it's really difficult to make the right decisions. And our sort of surroundings are not setting this generation up for success when it comes to healthy behaviors and healthy eating. But this is something that you all can make a big difference in, and it's in your hands to take on this challenge and figure out how to make a difference. What I was inspired by when I looked at all of these trends and all of where the direction that things were going is I was really inspired to join with my business partner and start an organization that would help bring access to real food to communities. And we did this first through schools, through providing high quality school meals. We're now doing it also through retail products sold in retail stores like King Soopers and Safeway and Target. But our fundamental belief and our fundamental philosophy is that everyone deserves access to real high quality food, that we need to set up our communities in ways that promote the right behaviors and the right kind of decisions to help avoid some of those statistics that I showed you earlier from coming to pass. So our approach has been really a balanced approach. It's not about cutting all junk out and putting all making every meal be something that doesn't taste good because it's so darn healthy. It's been about making high quality healthy food taste good because it's prepared by people who care about the food and chefs who understand the flavor profiles of different foods and can put together meals that are really high quality and balanced because they're based on really high quality ingredients, not just because they're sort of stripped of all of the sugar, fat, and salt that the food industry has increasingly been putting into our food. And all of this we've driven towards doing all of this, not just because we think it's great for, communities and people to be healthy, but because we believe fundamentally that good nutrition sets up students for learning. I mean, think about when you have gotten to school and you haven't eaten breakfast one day, how tired you are for the rest of that day, and how hard it is to absorb the stuff that you're supposed to absorb, and how hard it is to pass a test if you're feeling hungry, or if you're feeling like you haven't eaten the right things, or you haven't eaten a balanced meal. It's all about setting up our students, ourselves, and our communities for success through good, high-quality nutrition. So when we went out to look at what was happening in our communities today, we saw a lot of food being produced, not just in schools, but also in retail stores and restaurants, food that was prepared without any respect for the people eating it. And we thought, we had a vision of how we could change that. So we had a vision that we could create higher quality meals that actually taste good, that are accessible and affordable through the channels where largely students will access them most, which primarily is schools, and now it's increasingly more through other channels like retail. But we as we were thinking about this idea of starting this organization, we kept asking ourselves this fundamental question of, how can we expect students to succeed when we as the adult community, and I started my career as a teacher, we're not setting up an environment for those kids to be successful because we weren't providing them with access to the right kinds of food and the right kinds of, just the right choices to make the healthy choices and to make choices that would, promote students' own health and wellness and well-being. We decided, it's wrong for the adults to say, this is all about kids making the right choices. It's really about, we have to take on this challenge together. We have to listen to what students have to say about what tastes good, what kinds of foods they like, what chefs they like to follow, and what kinds of recipes they like. And we also have to take responsibility to make sure that we're making good choices as we're putting together the meals that we serve every day and the ways that those meals are served. So we started out with this mission, and our mission is to create access to high quality food and to build lifelong healthy eaters, because for us it's not just about getting a healthy meal on the table every day in a school, it's about building lifelong eating habits, because we believe that is what's going to change those statistics that I was showing you earlier. That's healthy eating habits and healthy behaviors and healthy attitudes towards food are what's going to help our communities to thrive and help our families and our communities and our society ultimately to be able to move forward and not be burdened by the economic costs and the health costs of the alternative, which is going down the path of much more unhealthy behaviors leading to disease and much less productivity in our society. And we've done this in partnership with schools. We haven't sought to go in and just replace what schools are serving, and we've really wanted to partner with schools and school districts, and we're excited now to be partnering with a few schools in Denver Public Schools serving an after-school supper program, and those are the kinds of ways that we're able to to start to make some of the changes that we see as critical in both communities and in eating behaviors, amongst the students that we serve. It's one step at a time. It's partnerships. It's building win-win kind of relationships with school districts to make incremental progress. We applaud districts like Denver who have increased access to fruits and vegetables over the past several years, and there's always more room to grow, and we see schools all over the country making strides, and we are really out here to help and partner with those schools and school districts to help just move that process forward. And really, I think what we bring that's different from how things have been done in the past is the idea of listening to students and involving students in the discussion about what the food should be in a school environment. We've grown quite a bit. So we started the company about 8 years ago. We started out in Oakland, California, serving, my business partner and I were in the kitchen making 500 meals a day and delivering them out every day to a couple of schools in Oakland. Since then, we've grown really rapidly, and we're serving communities as diverse as New Orleans and New York City and Denver and Houston and many cities in between. and we're serving over 1 million meals a week to schools across the country. So this is, this growth has been incredible, but it's at the same time, we still feel like there's a long way to go. There are a lot of students still and families who don't have access to high quality food, either in their schools or in their communities. So this is where the challenge starts to take shape. When we see schools who have incorporated healthy meal programs, one of the most important impacts that we see and that we're the most focused on is not just that kids that students are choosing healthier options because they taste good, but that their attitudes towards healthy eating are changing. And that's changing behaviors, and that's what's ultimately setting this next generation up for living long, healthy, and happy lives. It's about long-term eating habits. It's not just about, I'm gonna cut out soda this week, and it's not just about, I'm just gonna skip the fast food restaurant on Saturday. It's building habits over time that will lead to healthy, long-term lives, and finding fun ways to do that. I think that's one of the things that we've been very focused on is, cooking is really fun. And we've had so many students come to us and visit us in our culinary centers and say, I want to learn to be a chef. I want to learn how these recipes are made. Or maybe they're interested in the food science of it. I want to learn why is it that a recipe behaves differently when you're making it for 4 people than if you're making it for 400 or 4,000 or 40,000 people? How do you think about adjusting the proportion of spices to all the different ingredients in these large batch ovens and kettles that we're now using? So it's not just about getting the food onto the table. It's about changing attitudes. And what we've seen is that there's been huge impact. We do a lot of listening and a lot of going out and talking to communities about what's working, what's not working, what can we be doing better, and increasingly, we hear feedback through all kinds of different channels, and I think that's one of the most exciting things about the interconnectedness of the world today is that we're hearing feedback on Twitter, on Facebook, on by email. We go out and sit in the lunchroom and hear and listen to what's really working. We invite our students into our culinary centers to come and learn, like I said earlier. So let's talk a little bit about how does this all translate to, what is this challenge that you guys can actually take on, and how does that translate into what's going on in Denver today? So currently there are somewhere between 80 and 90,000 students in Denver public schools. About 60-some thousand of those are participating, eating one or more meal at school. 60,000 meals are being eaten at school. That's great. And one of the things that we focus on is just getting everybody to have access to eat 3 meals a day, 3 well-balanced meals a day. Where the challenge comes in is there's a lot of time that you spend out of school, and not just weekends, evenings, after school, before school in many cases, vacations, holidays. When you average it all out over time, over half of the food that you eat is not eaten at school or around the school day. And so and at the same time, what we see, and what I think many of you probably experience, is that school really is sort of the hub of the community. It's the hub of your life right now. It's the center of your universe in many ways. It's where your friends are. It's where you go for sports events. It's where you depend on for access to information and resources. But at the same time, our schools, as a part of our communities, haven't necessarily built themselves into the resource that they could be for communities in a broader sense. And I mean by that the schools really could be a place where families and communities can turn to for access to information about nutrition, access to healthy meals. Think about how many neighborhoods don't have a great grocery store or a farmer's market in them. What role could schools and the school facilities play in helping to bring access to higher quality food to the communities surrounding school campuses? So that translates into this challenge. So I challenge you to leverage the underutilized resources of your school community. This might mean your school kitchen, your school campus, anything surrounding your school the times that your school is not in teaching session, to create a place where your peers and your community could come together in the interest of creating a healthier food environment for your broader community. And you can take this and interpret it in whatever way you want. And I think there are a lot of different ways to think about this. But I think when you take some of the overarching statistics of what direction is our society currently heading in with, the obesity crisis, heart disease, diabetes kind of barreling down the train track, what are things that you can do in your community to help to prevent that train from keeping going at the speed it's going and reaching those kind of frightening statistics that I showed at the beginning? How can you create, within your school environment, with the resources available to you now, an environment where that school and that campus and all the resources of that school are helping to promote health and wellness in the community? And maybe it's not just with students, maybe it's in the broader community with the adults and caregivers and teachers and faculty. I mean, adults have just as many challenges with making the right healthy choices as kids do. So I challenge you to take that on and really think through what you can do and make it happen. I think there's a real possibility for making something real happen from this challenge, and you can take it on and go from there. I think I'm out of time for this part of it, and I want to turn to questions and discussion if anybody has questions about anything that I talked about so far.
Microphone's coming.
What made you
Wait, your name, your school, then your question.
Hi, my name is Anastasia Lee. I go to High Tech Early College. What made you do this for schools, healthy food and all?
It's a great question. I've always been interested in food. When I was in high school, I worked in the summers as a camp counselor and got kids out into gardens to learn how food grows, and I worked on a farm, and was really interested in food production. And then I got really interested in sort of the food system, and why is the food system going the direction that it's going, and why is it that the cheapest food seemingly in the grocery store is the stuff that's the least healthy and promoting of good eating habits. So I just started, it started early on in high school, even middle school, when I started learning about food, and then also I'm also an athlete, and I started, really understanding the impact that food had on my own body, and the difference in how I felt when I was, running on the track or running in a race, when I ate something that was really good for me versus when I ate something that wasn't as good for me. So it started from a really personal interest, and then I started realizing, as I was working in these summer camps and later on in jobs after college as a teacher, that there are so many communities in this country where access to the kinds of food that I was brought up on is just not there. And it's not the community's fault, it's the fault of the whole combination of policies and industry and urban development and all of these different things coming together to create environments where parents don't have any choices but to feed their kids really poor quality food. I believe fundamentally that access to high quality and healthy food is a fundamental right that every person, no matter where they're born or what family they come from, should have. So it came from that so first of all, the really personal space of understanding how important food can be in a person's life, but then also understanding the broader kind of economic and social impacts that lack of access to healthy food is having on our communities, and just looking at the statistics of how diabetes is disproportionately affecting those communities that don't have access to healthy and fresh food on a regular basis. Those were the kinds of things that I just felt like were so wrong and wanted to create a change. And I think when I met my business partner in grad school, we shared this belief that there's a real gap between what we know as a society is sort of the right path for healthy eating, and you've got all these medical researchers saying here's a way that that a healthy diet should look. But then we have entire institutions, and when we were starting up, what we were looking at was school districts that weren't set up to be providing the kind of food that these medical researchers were saying was the right thing to provide. So we wanted to just create a whole new way of thinking about school food and using school food as a place to then kind of launch from, because we believe that school food is you're exposed to it every single day, and you're reliant on it to get through the day in so many cases. And so we focused on schools because it was a place where there's a level playing field, and all students are coming to school every day, regardless of their neighborhood or their community or what they have access to at home. So we thought schools, because of our fundamental belief in access to high quality food as a real human right, schools was a place to start. Other questions? Questions about the challenge? We have a few here.
Hi, how you doing?
Who's that? Oh, hey.
Yeah. My name is Hap Legg. I'm a counselor at Martin Luther King Jr. Early College, and maybe this will help should anybody choose the challenge, but I'm trying to understand your business model and how that allows you to get 1 million meals out to people in all those different states, and then maybe as for inspiring or aspiring entrepreneurs, maybe some tips you have for people who want to own their own businesses.
Great. So our business model, and I didn't go into this in a lot of detail, is we operate big commercial kitchens, so we call them culinary centers. And in each of the regions that we operate in, and I showed you that we're in 7 different regions around the country right now, Oakland, California, Los Angeles, Denver, Houston, New Orleans, and New Jersey and DC and the East Coast. In each of those regions, we have a big commercial kitchen. It might be the size of this room. They're each slightly different size. And we're bringing in fresh food every day and cooking it kind of like you would cook in your kitchen, but in much bigger quantities. So we're preparing it. We're cooking it. Largely scratch cooking is going on in these culinary centers, and then we're packaging it up and delivering it to schools every day. So that's the basic business model, and all of the meals that we create are compliant with the National School Lunch Program. For all of you who are in school and you see that there's a school meal program that's sort of funded by the federal government and sponsored by the school, our meals fit right into that program. So that's been sort of the design behind our model in terms of access. We want to make sure that every kid, whether you qualify for free lunch or not, can eat those meals that we provide and that we're preparing in our culinary centers, and we have our chefs, putting together every day, that those are available. If you qualify for free lunch, they're available for free. If you don't, they're available for whatever, the school charges for them. As for the entrepreneurial side and starting your own business, it's hard work. It is, but there's nothing more rewarding than, having an idea. We started out with just an idea and a few pages business plan, and we just went out and started talking to people who might want to invest in this business. And we brought on board a couple of investors who said, who believed in us and said, hey, we believe you guys can make this happen. We built some credibility. We built a partnership with some local retailers. We built a partnership with Whole Foods initially, who helped us to build our supply chain and helped us to find the right suppliers of the ingredients that we were providing. And we took a lot of risks. I think that's the thing about entrepreneurship, is it requires taking a lot of risk. It requires, in our case, we were graduating from graduate school, and all of our friends were out applying for jobs. And we were saying, what, we're going to just go and start making meals. We're going to rent a kitchen and start making meals and see where that goes. So it takes a lot of, it takes a lot of risk, but it's also incredibly rewarding when when you see the team that you can build and the jobs you can create, and then the impact that you can have in the schools. And for us, it's been really fun too, because we love food and we love the culinary aspect of what we're doing too. And so it's fun to we've now built a team of a lot of wonderful chefs. We're not chefs ourselves, and so we learn every day about food and cooking, and we eat our food every day too, breakfast and lunch when we're in the office. So it's been really fun and rewarding in that sense too, when you're creating a business that does something that you really love and care about.
Time for one.
Oh, one more question. Okay.
Okay, I'm Brandon Ware. I'm a freshman at Stripe Prep Excel. I have a confession to make, first of all. I don't eat very healthily, and I also don't exercise on a regular basis. I think I'm like 25 pounds overweight. I don't know if I'm the only in here with a situation like that. My best excuse for not exercising is I'm busy. I focus a lot on schoolwork. Anyway, my question is, what plans do you have for the future that'll reach out to other kids like me to get us more active? I mean, I'm by no means a couch potato, but I don't know, to make sure all kids are getting the exercise and the food they need, just to more widespread what you're doing right now to get more kids healthily. Like, my question is, what are your plans?
That's a great question, and thank you for your personal statement too. It's I mean, it's a challenge that so many people have, and the first step towards making a change in your life is being able to stand up and say, you know what, I want to make a change. And now we're in the beginning of January, which is that time of year when everybody likes to make their resolutions. But it is an important time, but it requires a lot of. It doesn't require just you saying, you know what, I want to make a change. It requires you need to have your community support you in that. And so whether that's your teachers, your family, your peers, your friends, there's a lot that has to come together for true change to happen. So I encourage you to kind of think about that, and happy to talk more with anyone that wants to talk about that one-on-one afterwards. In terms of our plans for the future, we are continuing to expand. What we have found is that since we've gotten all this great feedback and we've expanded across the country, the phone just keeps on ringing. We have schools who are want to work with us in different ways, and we've had to change the way that we work to be able to work with all different kinds of schools. And like I said, we're now working with a few of the public schools in Denver here, a number of the charter schools as well in the surrounding area, and we're building new ways to work with schools who want to work with us. So I think there's and that's happening all over the country. We're also expanding, in, like I said earlier, into retail, because we love and see the impact of what we're doing in schools every day, but we also realize that there are a lot of schools in the country that we're not in right now. We're in about 1,000 schools, and that's a drop in the bucket when you look at how many schools there are across the country. And we looked at the retail grocery channel as another way to provide access to high quality food. So we've launched a retail product line that will continue to expand. Like I said, it's a meal kit line, so it's sort of a grab and go little box that contains a balanced meal of protein and whole grains, and it's kind of fun and interactive. It's sold in King Soopers, so there's my plug. But we're going to continue to expand that also, because we believe that as a part of our our overall mission to increase access to high quality food, it's going to take not just getting into schools, but it's going to take getting into people's homes, and it's going to take like you were saying earlier, it takes a lot of education as well as because even people who have been in the food industry all their lives don't necessarily know how to build their habits over time and make healthy choices on a daily basis. So we engage in a lot of kind of educational outreach also with the schools, and we partner with other organizations who are doing educational work. And that's another thing you could take on as a part of this challenge is how to really increase access to those kinds of tools and information about making healthier choices in the community.
All right. Let's hear it for her. Can you stay here for just 1 second? Can you stay there for just 1 second? I'm gonna poll executive privilege and rank, and I want to ask one quick question that I think is interesting. If you go up to the staff break room where we have a bunch of food laid out and stuff, all of the chocolate is gone, and all of the unhealthiest things are gone, and there's a huge thing of apples that no one has eaten any of. What do you think? I mean, I understand why I make choices that I make, but what do you think it takes to make people want an apple instead of a piece of chocolate? Or French fries, or a burger, or whatever, right?
It's a good question.
Because the truth is, I would rather have the French fries than the apple.
That's a great question. Well, so one of the things that we have found is that people well, first of all, it's about balance. So, if you imagine every time you're faced with, picking something to eat throughout the course of a day, if every time you pick the chocolate, at the end of the day, you're going to feel pretty sick, right? So there is an element of balance that your body will naturally, if you can kind of listen to what your body truly needs at the time when you're looking at, grabbing something to eat. And if you wait until you're truly hungry, your body will tell you what's going to make you feel better, after you eat it. And, if you've chosen chocolate for those, first 3 times you listen to your body, chances are the next time your body might be like, God, I've had a lot of chocolate. I think I need that apple. But there's also, habits are hard to break. And so if you have, I think one thing that, we've challenged people to do from time to time is, just try going for 3 days without X, whatever that is for you. Is it chocolate? Is it soda? Is it, is it those potato chips that you always grab and snack on? And just try cutting kind of one thing out that is probably not the best choice. And listen to your body as you're making those other choices. Or, on the flip side, at the same time, every day try to take one of those decision points and make the healthier choice. And kind of listen to your body and how it feels along the way afterwards. And it's about balance. It's not about completely cutting everything out and trying to be on a wheatgrass and hummus diet for your whole life. It's about finding the right balance for your own body and your own activity level and and what makes you feel the best at the end of the day.
Let's hear it for her. Kirsten.
Thank you.